mother was from Duluth. My father was born in St. Paul, where the courthouse stands. It wasn't Kellogg Boulevard, it was 3rd Street at the time. But it was, there were stores and apartments above it, and now it's the site of the St. Paul City Hall. My mother was born in Duluth. Her parents were in Duluth for years. My great-grandmother lived to about 104 years old. Her husband was a rabbi who married many of the Jewish couples on the Iron Range. And my great-grandmother was the founder of the Talmud Torah, which is the Hebrew school in Duluth, and is well known in Duluth. At age 90, she went and had cataract surgery without ever telling her children because she wanted to be able to read her prayer books.
Oh, my parents, my mother came from Russia, and
As a baby,
as a child. And when she had measles or something, the rabbi said that she would be sleeping so that they wouldn't see that she was sick. And so that happened. She was sleeping, and they didn't know that she had a problem, and so they let her in. And my father came from Poland, and they were very, very well, they had a lot of money in Poland, and they had clothing stores.
I want to tell you how growing up we didn't have television, of course. So there was newspaper and radio. And I've got a crib sheet here. Some of the programs, the day programs were Ma Perkins, Mrs. Goldberg, One Man's Family. The Sunday night programs were Jack Benny and Eddie Cantor. Walter Winchell was on, and he gave you kind of the news and the social news. So that was our entertainment from the radio.
I remember that the kids were not too friendly, and I was 5. And they tied me to a tree. And my mother couldn't find me, so she was going up and down and going towards the synagogue. She saw that I was tied to a tree, and she cut me loose. When the kids knew that we were Jewish, they beat us up, the boys, and my sister and I. And so we used to go behind the houses when we came home from school and hid in the bushes and kept going until we could get home because the boys would beat us up.
So there was a lot of anti-Semitism
Terrible.
here in Minneapolis.
Absolutely the worst in the country. One of the worst in the country, yeah, yeah. Remember, France Avenue, you could not, if you were Jewish, buy a house the other side of France Avenue. That's where we're living now. But
fascinating to hear this from you because none of us in our generation would even recognize this today.
that's right. No, we would be beaten up. And I had a friend who was not Jewish, and I would go to catechism with her, and I'd walk with her. And her father worked for the Rothschild Company. And she had a birthday party, and nobody came because I was Jewish and came. And her father said, I work for a Jewish company, for Rothschild. And we're going to continue to have the party. And they had the party, but there were two people there. We didn't
Tell me
like
again
it
about your
anymore.
name change. So you were born Bell,
Yeah.
and you were picked on for that name.
Ding dong bell.
So it's time to get a new name. So how'd the new name happen?
Jeanne. And so my mother said, okay, but you've got to spell it the French way. Not Jeanne, Jeanne. All right, that's fine. I like it. I first met Al when we were in Spanish class. And it was ninth grade. And I sat behind him. Levine and Lauderman, okay. And I liked him right away. So what I would do is get out of the class in a hurry and meet him when he came out of his other class, and I would be there. And so naturally we'd visit with each other and get to know each other a little bit. And that was how I chased him until he caught me.
You thought he was pretty cute. What did you think?
Well, this is Mariah Sanford and junior high. And we're just kids, so I mean, we didn't really get together. She was Juanita and I was Alberto, and we went from Mariah Sanford to Central High. And we were in class together at Central, beyond our Spanish class. And she was very popular. And tell them about your activities.
I had 4 proposals of marriage. And turned them down.
Real ones? Wow.
One of the guys cried. Sad.
You went out 2 different guys the same night.
Yeah. Well, I went out with one guy and then waited
Late date.
a late date. Another one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was pretty popular.
We'll just end that story right there.
One October, we went on a hayride together, and there was a full moon, very cold. She was wearing a red jacket and black pants, and I was wearing a white coveralls from the University of Texas, where my sister went to school.
Yeah.
And we were snuggled up.
It was a hayride.
A hayride, yeah. And from there on, we fell in love.
That's snuggling on the hayride.
Yeah, it really works. Can you tell us about the wardrobe when you were in high school? Bobby socks.
Bobby socks.
We were married on Christmas Eve, 1949, at Jean's home on Highland Parkway. And it was a beautiful wedding. I later wrote a poem about it. It was the night before Christmas, and all through Highland Park, not a creature was stirring, not even a lark. It was a long poem, and I described the wedding completely in this poem. Jeanne had a pink eye at the time. She was upstairs putting on her wedding gown, but her eyes were pink, so she did frown. When the music started playing, we proceeded downstairs, led by Jean's father, Maury Lauderman. And it was a lovely wedding. We had a reception downstairs. We had a caterer, and the caterer brought potato knishes, and he put them around the furnace because we were going to be eating downstairs. And the dinner was going according to Hoyle until we tried the potato knishes and they tasted of oil. But it was delicious dinner, and we had cake afterwards, and she fed me my cake and got it all over my face.
Now, it was a very small wedding,
Yeah.
because it was a home wedding. So there were very, very few
Yeah, just the relatives.
and
And
both families.
we left the next morning for Chicago
By train?
by
By
train, and we had a lovely time.
I bought a pair of shoes, expensive ones, that I never had before. I was happy.
Yeah, when we were there, we saw Hildegard. We saw what's her name, who was skating.
Sonia Henning.
Yeah, and
That come to me.
Had a good memory.
She was a famous skater.
yeah. So we had a nice honeymoon.
Let's go to your kids. Tell me about your firstborn.
My firstborn was Steve, and Carol came along about a year and a half after.
Talk about us, Steve and me.
Oh! Yeah, well, they'd fight, and I wouldn't know which one to blame, but I think it was mostly Carol. And she'd get mad and go in her room, and
We got the truth here anyway.
but they were good kids, and they did well in school, and Carol.
Talk about winter. What did you build in the back?
Oh, yeah. We by then we were living.
Skating rink.
Yeah, by that we were living in.
That was when we
on St. Denis Court, and the big houses were on St. Denis Road. But there were a lot of friends in the neighborhood, and they all got together. And my brother-in-law and I, we were in there first. Then my brother-in-law built his house next door, and my in-laws built a house across the street. So my mother-in-law was a good cook, and the kids would run over to my mother-in-law's, and she'd feed them. And we hung signs on them: "Don't feed the animals." And of course she did.
Did you want to talk about Head Start?
Yeah, I was in the original Head Start program for children, and I was very active at the time, and Head Start is, you give the kids a push, you help them with learning.
This group was the foundation.
Foundation. We
for
founded
Head
Head Start to give the kids a break.
And it was adopted by the national.
The national program.
So that they would be prepared for school when they finally got there.
Yeah.
Tell me about the painting right behind you a little bit.
That is Nancy Graves, and this is a painting on paper, and at the time some artists were letting paint just run. There was a school of art of that sort. She also did sculpture. She sculptured horses, actually. And we were attracted by it. You can see in the room here we have a lot of color, but we have a lot of black and white also. I liked black and white.
Well, we took a lot of trips with the art group, and we traveled all over.
Yeah. I mean, I think as part of our, we took a number of cruises. We cruised the Mediterranean a couple times. We cruised the Caribbean. We were interested in we went to Mexico on a cruise, both sides of Mexico. The Maya Peninsula was interesting.
We never bought the art that they try to sell you on the cruise.
Yeah,
it's
no.
junk.
Could you pass on some advice and counsel to the future generation?
Well, one is to sit down and have meals with your children. You wanted the time with your children, and you wanted the children to encourage the children to be honest with us and forthright, and we were forthright with them. So I think that's very important. You wanted to teach them about charity. You wanted to teach them about nature, and teach them about art. You need time to enjoy these things. But you also had an obligation to others and to charities.
Family.
Yeah,
family is the most important of all. And I like that our family is close. And that is the most comforting thing to me, is to be happy with your family and stay close. And that's the best thing in the world.
She was so gracious. She's never nagged me.
No,
She's always supported me.
That's right.
We've always agreed.
We get along very well.
Yeah.
We don't fight at all.
Right.
We just
and
comfortable with each
yeah,
other.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And what's one thing that you love about him?
Yeah.
Well, I think she's beautiful. And,
Because he's very good to me.
yeah, and she turned down 4 others for me
Yes, I do.
because I had nice manners.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
And I tear up and I talk about Jeanne.
Yeah.
So
We go.
I want to take care of her, but she wants to take care of me.
Yeah. We love each other.
Yeah.
How about a kiss?